There is a Lincoln Project type organization referred to as Republican Voters Against Trump. Turns out that there's quite a few of them. And they've put out a new ad featuring former DHS Chief of Staff Miles Taylor, who is basically disclosing what a nightmare it was to have to deliver security briefings to a giant baby like Donald Trump. Let's take a look.
What we saw week in and week out, and for me, after 2.5 years in that administration, was terrifying. We would go in to try to talk to him about a pressing national security issue, cyber attack, terrorism threat. He wasn't interested in those things. To him, they weren't priorities. The president wanted to exploit the Department of Homeland Security for his own political purposes and to fuel his own agenda. The California wildfires. On a phone call with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, he told FEMA to cut off the money and to no longer give individual assistance to California. He told us to stop giving money to people whose houses had burned down from a wildfire because he was so rageful that people in the state of California didn't support him and that politically it wasn't a base for him. The policies at the border, he wanted to restart zero tolerance and separate families. He said he wanted to go further and have a deliberate policy of ripping children away from their parents to show those parents that they shouldn't come to the border in the first place. A lot of the time, the things he wanted to do not only were impossible, but in many cases illegal. He didn't want us to tell him it was illegal anymore because he knew that there were, and these were his words, he knew that he had magical authorities.
So, a lot of these accusations don't really come as a surprise to most people who've been following the Trump administration, especially as closely as we've been following it. But Taylor worked for Trump and eventually stepped down because of how hideous Trump really is. And he warns about what could happen if Trump gets reelected. Let's take a quick look at that portion of the video.
He was one of the most unfocused and undisciplined senior executives I've ever encountered. I came away completely convinced based on firsthand experience that the president was ill-equipped and wouldn't become equipped to do his job effectively. People who are still serving in this administration have said to me, just wait until the second term. It'll be no holds barred. It'll be shock and awe. We'll do what we want.
So, it is nice to see people who worked for Trump call him out for how awful he really is. There have been so many people who have already done that, and it seems like it really doesn't affect Trump's base. But Cenk, what do you think about this?
Yeah, so he was very high level. He was chief of staff for the head of the Department of Homeland Security. So he's got it on good authority. He was in the room many of these times. And there were parts that we didn't play for you that are arguably worse, where he, in the middle of emergencies, he would divert his attention to the wall. Now, first of all, if you say, hey, okay, he's concerned about the wall because he delivered it, he promised it in the election. I actually have no problem with that. I hate the wall, but he won and he wanted the wall. No, in the middle of, you shouldn't do it in the middle of emergencies, you should do it in normal business times. But okay, let's say that it's even then, right? He was talking about what color we're gonna paint it. And should we spray paint it or use regular paint? They're like, Mr. President, can we focus on the terrorism threat? Yeah, but what color should the wall be? Oh, for God's sake, okay? So this guy here makes two different points that are good. One is he's vicious about his own self-interest and completely indifferent and has no empathy to the point of being sociopathic. The people are burning in a fire in California. I don't care, they didn't vote for me, good. Right? Just such a vicious, terrible little man. And the other part is he can't concentrate. He's a little child. Remember when he bragged about how he changed the colors of Air Force One? He's like, we were designing it and I had a very important role in it. I changed the colors. What a little child. And remember the story about how when they want to cheer up Trump, they'll bring trucks to the White House lawn and let him sit in the big rigs and play. Oh, it's pathetic, just pathetic. And these are people that work with him day after day. It's not progressives like us telling you these stories. It's Republicans who worked in his administration at senior levels saying, no, he is a man-child. No, he is really more indecent than you could even imagine. That's why stories like this coming out do matter. I know MAGA's beyond hope. But for any independents out there that are still considering Trump and that don't know these details, it's important for them to know the real stories of what happened in the White House.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.